Welcome to another episode of Comedy Wham Presents with me, your host, Valerie, and coming to you from the much-anticipated 2021 Moontower Comedy Festival. My sometime co-host, Miss Purrington, is resting at home. ComedyWham.com is your place to go for features about all Austin comedy, including those passing through Austin for festivals. Follow Comedy Wham on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube. Where aren't we? In addition to podcasts, Comedy Wham brings you articles, album reviews, a monthly show on first Tuesdays at Hobson Time in Lakeway, and an events page for live shows in Austin and Houston. If you're a comic in those cities and want your show featured on the calendar, go to the events page and click Submit a Show to complete the short survey. Now, let's get back to our podcast. We hope you'll rate and review us. With over 200 interviews since its launch in 2016, the podcast is your anthropology lesson in Austin comedy, bringing you funny people and their stories. As a fan, I like to delve into a comic's background and motivations, and will usually take a detour along the way. Consider the interview a way for you to get to know the folks that make the Austin comedy scene one of the best in the country. Today we are recording live on location at the beautiful Driscoll Hotel. I'm talking to, for the record fourth time, the best roadie of the goddamn Comedy Jam, Mosh Pit, who apparently has a very sordid history with Dulce Sloan. Maybe we'll talk about that. So many things have changed since we last talked to our guest. He's a new dad. That's probably the most important thing in his life. He had his 2020 debut special Family Reunion come out. It is available on lots of streaming platforms. I caught it on Amazon Prime. He is constantly headlining venues across the country, which is now like such a big deal compared to our very first chat where that was just starting to happen. And he has an amazing new hit podcast, The Scissor Brothers, with Stevie Weeby. And now, Comedy Wham presents our guest for a fourth record time, Jeremiah Watkins.
It's good to be breaking records. It's good to be here.
Welcome back to Texas.
Thank you.
Well, you were just here, actually, in Addison, up in the Dallas-Fort Worth area.
Yeah, I just did a weekend at the Addison Improv just a couple weekends ago.
Yeah. And seeing you and watching you get more and more headlining shows, it's like really cool. Like I was talking to a comic last night who grew her comedy chops in Austin, and now she's got all the Comedy Central, HBO credentials, and it's so cool to watch somebody like blossom.
Sure.
And I think by you being based in LA and working at the Comedy Store, you were already blossoming when we first met, but now it's like it keeps going bigger and bigger.
That's the goal. The goal. Yeah. A lot of people thought I worked at the Comedy Store. I never worked at the Comedy Store, but I was there so much that people are like, "Well, this guy's got to work there because he's literally he doesn't leave." So yeah, my first few years at the Comedy Store, a lot of people were like, "So how long have you been a door guy here?" And I'm like, no, I'm here, I'm studying, I'm watching, I'm learning, and I'm just trying to soak everything up like a sponge.
Yeah, and that whole learning aspect to you is, I can't believe I did this. I think I was focusing on new things in my introduction of you, because one of the things that you've done for a long time is a podcast that focuses on what you've learned. The Breaking Out podcast was a big project, and then it kind of shifted into Jeremiah Wonders.
Yeah, Building Years of Jeremiah Wonders.
Oh, Building Years, sorry.
All good. Yeah. And now I'm doing Jeremiah Wonders and Scissor Brothers at the same time.
Yeah. And I was thinking about this because for many years I knew you not just as the roadie for Goddamn Comedy Jam, but as the band leader for Kill Tony.
Of course, yeah.
And I was thinking that since basically that show moved here to Austin, Texas, there was like this creativity that you were needing to express.
Oh, of course. Oh, no, that's honestly, who knows if Scissor Bros would have been born if the move with Kill Tony to Texas had happened, because I was fulfilling that much needed thing, creating new characters every week and like really putting my effort into that. And then when that time opened up, I'm always looking to fill my schedule and time with something new and creative, and that's kind of, you know.
Well, I noticed, too, that you were a lot more focused on putting out sketch videos. Mm-hmm. And you've done quite a lot with people that I've seen you perform with through The Wave or just guests of Jeremiah Wonders. And I'm loving the guy who gets fired. I'm butchering every reference.
It's all good. I mean, yeah, with Josh Wolf. Yeah, we got this How to Get Fired series that we're basically doing.
Yeah. So I guess if I'm ever going to get to a question here, which I don't think I have so far, is, and I usually wait till the end, is what is the trajectory looking like for you? Because last year changed. So many things changed for you with becoming a dad. The change in responsibilities with that show, or Kill Tony, and then Scissor Brothers blowing up. Like, has something shifted in your mind about what you want to, how you want to pursue your career?
Really, the main thing is, it's a phrase that we all know, but the working smarter, not harder thing really applies to my life now, especially that I'm a dad, because as you know, as a parent, you have to be a little bit more selective with what you commit to and what you give your time to, because time becomes a little bit more precious in a different way than it was before.
Yeah.
Where I've always been a hustler as far as like the comedy scene, but like I've had to start to be a little bit more selective with how I hustle. Yeah. If I'm not really into it or passionate about the idea, it's not going to happen anymore. It's not going to be like we'll give it a shot. It's like, no, like, I got to focus. Like, otherwise, like, plates start falling and I'm always spinning plates. But, yeah, it's definitely trying to be a little bit more savvy with my time rather than just saying yes to everything. Because that's what I did for years and years. I've literally said yes to every single thing that I've been asked to do and tried to knock it out of the park as much as I can. And now I just got to be a little bit more focused on what I want to be successful and hopefully have those individual projects thrive. That's the goal.
Yeah. One of the things that I like is you had a joke and I haven't seen you do a full set. Last night I got to see you host, which was really cool. But years back you had a joke about how your wife was trying to make you start a family.
Uh-huh.
And you were very adamant against it. Now, of course, that's a stage thing.
Sure.
Do you think that part of that joke was you mentally preparing for that day where you would say, I'm gonna have my family, so I better start mentally preparing for saying no to everything that's thrown at me?
Sure. I mean, that joke, I know which one you're talking about. I told my wife, I go, you can't get pregnant until I record that joke, because it's a really good joke, and I need this. I need to put this on a special. Like, and I did it. So that's how I closed my my special on Amazon Prime.
Yeah.
And honestly, there's a lot of jokes that didn't make the cut where literally it's me working through the therapy of like, I think this is going to happen. Like, I think I'm going to become a dad. Like, literally I had a bunch of different jokes of me on that mental journey to kind of committing to that idea and committing to the fact that like this is going to be the new me.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So, referring back to last night and seeing you host, I didn't hear dad jokes. Is Jeremiah going to do dad jokes?
I have a lot of dad jokes, actually. I just like them too much where I was like, I'm hosting and I'm not going to let this crowd have them. Because when I host a show, there's certain jokes a little behind the scenes that as a comic you get a little selfish and you're like, this crowd doesn't deserve this because they're not ready for a show yet. And why is this crowd going to make me feel worse about a joke that I really like? So, if I'm doing a normal set in the middle of the show or if I'm headlining, you'll get to see that side of me, and that's part of the good stuff. That's what you pay to come see me on the road headline,
Right. Oh my gosh, speaking of that, this obviously is going to be all over the place. Your last headlining show before the shutdown, my son and I came to see you in San Antonio.
Yeah, that was awesome.
And it was, I know I've said this every single time we've sat down, but the growth that I've been able to see as a fan is really cool, and your crowd work was really great then. And what I got to witness last night was, oh my gosh, the hosting, the crowd work. You walked into the crowd with your wireless mic, and you talked to people, and it was like, oh my gosh, it's very cool to see. You host Stand Up on the Spot, which we'll get to see at Moontower
on Saturday. Yeah.
How do you think hosting has changed for you?
Well, for example, last night, to be completely honest, I really don't agree to host other people's shows anymore, because the problem is I'm a high energy comic, and I will do well in that spot compared to a comic who's low energy, who won't get the show going.
Yeah. So
like, I always find it as my duty, to kick off the show, a lot of energy, and make sure I'm setting up the rest of the comics for success. That's what a host is supposed to do. But the problem is if I agree to do that, that's all people want you to do, because it's hard to host. It's not an easy job. So with Stand Up on the Spot and stuff like that, and the show that you saw last night, I really went into it with, like, I'm going to do exactly what I want. Like, this is not going to be... I tried to not treat it as a conventional host set, and I tried to be a little bit more weird and do what I want to do. And I think it paid off, to be honest, because I don't think that I would have made that bold of a choice even 5 years ago doing comedy.
Yeah.
So just kind of going through the crowd and kind of just feeling them out, doing bits in between with, different audience members and stuff.
Yeah.
And it made it feel more like a cohesive show, because I was, like, having fun with it.
Yeah.
Rather than, like, all right, I'll tell one joke in between each comic, bring the next comic up, and that's the show. Thanks so much for coming out. Yeah.
Plus, it was one of the first shows of a festival that is much beloved, and you, in a sense, were setting the tone for the evening. Like,
Sure.
I was excited to, I wasn't worried about, the whole, is everybody wearing a mask or not wearing a mask? Like, you distracted me from the worrying of
good.
the first
that's the
night
goal,
back.
especially with the festival this year. It's, it's a different animal this year, because people are way more heightened, and they're not used to being out in public, and they're trying to relearn and kind of recalibrate to just being around people again.
Yeah. And you had to play the balancing act, because you knew you were having a child, and yet you were going out on, you were traveling, you were going to perform at shows at maybe states that, like the state of Texas, that's a little more
relaxed.
Shall we say, for better or worse. California has very good statistics. How did you navigate the? Do I go out? Am I putting my family at risk?
It was a conversation that obviously my wife and I had, and it was it's how I make money. So there's sometimes you have to weigh the options, but also when I went out on the road, I've been pretty fortunate to not get sick with COVID on the road, and I'm vaccinated now, but it's one of those things where before that was available, I treated when I flew and when I was on the road like that was still part of the job. I wasn't going out and being stupid and partying after the shows, and that's how you're going to get COVID, like, is being around people who also are not caring, and they're just being kind of careless. So I treated the whole thing like, not just the shows, but also, like, I didn't do any meet and greets, and I did a lot of precautionary things where I was like, just in case my wife's pregnant, I'm not going to be doing this. Yeah. And we just had a conversation. She's like, yeah, I'm cool with that, and just, she'd just remind me. She's like, just make sure that, like, you're being as safe as possible, because I do have our baby inside me right now. So.
Yeah. Okay, so tell me about the birth of the Scissor Brothers.
So, Stevie Weeby, as he's known by the general public, I just call him Steve. But I've known him for years through Bobby Lee, because I used to open for Bobby Lee on the road. Okay. And so he introduced me to his brother forever ago. and we hadn't really hung out. Steve used to do open mics and stuff like that, so I'd kind of see him around a little bit here and there. He would hang out at the Comedy Store every once in a while, but he wasn't really like fully invested into the comedy scene, so I really wouldn't see him around that much. But I knew who he was through his brother, so we always like hit it off a little bit, and I decided to have him on my podcast, Jeremiah Wonders, and right away, the first episode, people were like, you guys have amazing chemistry, you should seriously consider starting a podcast. And me as an improv guy, it's a nice compliment that I've been paid, but I've heard that compliment anytime I have good chemistry with somebody, and I'm like, I think the improv is just good. I don't know if it's sustaining a full series between two people kind of thing.
Yeah.
And we kept doing each other's podcasts, and every time we did each other's podcasts, it would become more and more comments. They're like, no, seriously, you guys have to start a podcast together. And we're like, all right. And the actual name Scissor Bros comes from, he saw a pair of scissors at my place that he's like, I have that pair of scissors too. And I go, oh, we're Scissor Brothers.
Oh.
And in that episode, to really tie in for Scissor Brothers, we cut each other's pubic hair with the scissors. And instead of like a blood pact, it was a pubic hair pact with scissors. So that's how we became Scissor Bros. It's through that. That's where the name and everything comes from. And so we kept doing each other's podcasts, and finally, I had this idea to do this parody called Good Friends, because Andrew Santino and Bobby Lee have a very successful podcast called Bad Friends, and I was going to do it. We designed a set in my garage after we moved, specifically for Scissor Bros, so people would buy into the fact that because it was going to be a one-off. But I wanted people to buy into the fact that, like, no, I think they really are calling this show Good Friends. So I linked up with the animator and the editor for Bad Friends, and I said, hey, I've got this idea. What do you think? And her name's Jenna Sunday, and she helped us kind of concoct this idea. She got us the exact animator to do in the same style of animation. I looked up the guy who did their theme song, and I said, can you do a Good Friends version? I literally photocopy of everything to make it just more like literally the opposite version of their show. It's like a bizarro Bad Friends. Yeah. And she's like, I said, okay, I'm going to release it at this time. She goes, well, what if you release it on April Fool's Week? Because she gave me the inside tip. She goes, they're doing a Two Bears, One Cave and Bad Friends swap cast where they're going to do podcasts on each other's sets, and it's going to be an April Fool's joke. So she said, you'll get a ton of traffic if you do it the same week, because it'll feel like it's all tied in. Yeah. So you looked on YouTube, and the way the algorithm hit, it literally was Bad Friends, it was Two Bears, One Cave, and it was this new Scissor Bros podcast called Good Friends. So our first episode, literally, I mean, it got so much traffic, and people were like, is this real? Like, we hope this is real because we love this show. And luckily, that first episode, Steve and I were both on our game, and we had a really fun episode together. And after that, we're like, we talked with Bobby and Santino, and I think that they didn't really want us to be like under their umbrella, because we were really doing like an exact kind of copy of Bad Friends. Yeah. And we're like, no, well, like, we're gonna change it. It was just an April Fool's joke, so we changed it to Scissor Bros, because people who had been following us had already known us kind of as that, like, over the years. And we switched to Scissor Bros a week later. We got literally all the handles, the YouTube stuff. Like, we went into work mode right away. And that episode came out the day after my son was born. So it was like, it was all at once. Wow. It was all at once.
Wow. And then you have a hit on your hands.
Right, and then you have to sustain it.
Yeah.
So we're super proud of the fact that it's been 5 months, and we've already hit over 50,000 subscribers on YouTube, which, as you know, is a really hard feat to do. Yeah. It took me, for example, my personal channel, my Jeremiah Watkins channel, it literally took me since 2005 to 2021. So like almost 15, 16 years to get 50,000 subscribers on my personal channel. Now, I've learned a lot over the years of how to work social media and stuff like that. So obviously, that comes into play a lot, and just traction of doing other podcasts. But like, that gives you an example. Like, that's crazy in a short amount of time for that to happen.
Right.
So we're pretty stoked, and it's Steve's first time in Texas. We're gonna have a fun live Scissor Bros show. We got some fun stuff planned.
I'm so excited. I know I wrote you early on because some of the challenges are a bit rough.
They're gnarly.
They're a bit rough to listen to, and to this day, I can't watch them. I can only listen, so I know I'm missing out on a huge part of the podcast.
Oh, if you listen to Scissor Bros and don't watch it, you're literally losing out on about, I'm not even kidding, probably 50% of the jokes that are going on.
Yeah.
Because it's very highly edited and a lot of special effects and stuff like that too.
Yeah.
So it's a very visual medium. But
All right. Well, I'll see if I can overcome.
How about you watch it until the challenge? That's what my wife does. She turns it off at the challenge because it's towards the end of the show anyway. So.
Yeah. You are. I think as of today, I know tomorrow there'll be a new episode that drops.
Yes.
And that will be your 26th episode, if I remember.
Yeah.
And it got a little heated in the last few because there was like this massive challenge, and I really thought, oh, well, this podcast is over. And I don't know if I want to reveal because I want people to, go and binge them because it's only 25.
Yeah, for sure. It's still a fairly new podcast.
And it might have been for dramatics, but it was powerful. It was palpable that you were like, okay, I think I've been pushed to my...
Oh, yeah, we had to address some stuff. We had to address some stuff on the show, and it was,
And I actually like that you did that because one of the things that is nice about this podcast is the friendship comes through. Like, you could tell you have each other's back.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the episode that we're putting out tomorrow is like, we literally are traveling on the road. He came with me to Vegas, and it's literally two buddies on a road trip. And we documented it, and we did tons of clips to cut to in between the podcasts, and it's one of my favorite episodes that we've done. And we're kind of figuring out, like, if people like that, like, we'll try to start doing more live shows and stuff like that because it's just it's a very different vibe though. So it's, we'll see.
Yeah. You did a technical live show.
We did.
So
we did kind of like a soft run kind of to feel that out.
Yeah. And the venue, which the Valve, is a fairly small, intimate venue, so it's going to be a really nice setting.
I think so, and I've been told that we're sold out, so it should be a fun show.
I got to make sure I get in early then because.
Oh yeah, if you have your badge, you should be good. You should be good.
Yeah. I was really my heart was warmed when going back to the show that you hosted last night. When you came up, somebody did the Scissor Brothers. I don't know if you caught that.
Oh, it's kind of crazy. Like, since we started the podcast, I'd probably say about 80 to 90% of audiences that I do, there's one person that are doing scissors in the crowd.
Yeah.
They're doing that arm motion that we do on the podcast, and that's crazy because there's been some cities where it's a lot of people doing it, and I'm like, this is getting wild. And and we're gonna do it tomorrow night for the live podcast, and that we're gonna have a whole room of people doing that.
Yeah.
So that'll be real exciting.
Yeah. One of the things that I know about you is that hustle mode, that work mode. I know you've got the video series that you're doing, and you have been doing a lot of videos. Mm-hmm. Do you find it? Do you have to remind yourself that, okay, I have this one thing that is totally blowing up right now, but I need to make sure I balance all of the things that I'm good at. So with the video series, which are great, like, I don't think I'm asking this right. Like, do you have to remind yourself, okay, yes, Scissor Bros is super big, super exciting, it's blowing up, but I can't be consumed by it? Yeah,
I mean, I've never had the mentality of putting all your eggs in the one basket because for whatever reason in life, I feel like you can be let down really hard if you do that. And I feel like I've done that with some projects in the past, and I look back and I'm like, I could have been spending my time a little bit differently in different places. So I think it's super important to be showcasing the other stuff that I want to be doing outside of Scissor Bros. The goal is, the common thread out of all the times we spoke that is still constant is I still want to do a sketch show. I still, whether it's my own, whether it's a medium like an SNL or something, like that's still a goal out of all the mediums of stuff that I'm doing. So like that's why I've tried in the last couple of years to really put out some more sketches. So people only know what you show them and what you spoon feed to them.
Yeah.
They literally will be like, oh, I didn't know you do that. Until you literally, it's in their feed, they're following you, and like, oh, there you go. Oh, he's good at that.
Yeah.
Okay. So, when we're putting out these sketches and stuff, Josh Wolf, like, even I've had, like, for him, like, I've had multiple people be like, he's a pretty good actor. And I'm like, yeah. So it's like, you know what I mean? It's like maybe some people didn't know that he's actually good. So it's like, it's a free showcase. Like, if you're putting out stuff that you love, like, you never know who's going to be watching.
Yeah. Those sketches are so funny. And when he appears on Jeremiah Wonders, those are some of my favorite
I love
episodes.
Our banter. Yeah. He's just super. We just have fun, good chemistry, and good vibes, like, every time we hang, for sure.
Yeah. You were back here at Moontower with a goddamn comedy jam. It's just mosh pit for this jam.
I know, I'm missing Razor Blade.
Yeah.
Yeah, Johnny scored us. Wasn't able to make the trip this time, but we got a gig coming up in LA that we're going to be doing, so I'll be excited to see him soon.
Yeah. We were excited that we saw Avery because we in the past Avery was listed on the performers.
I know.
And when we showed up to the jam, it's like Avery's here.
Yeah.
And I'm sure for that first time to be back at the festival with the comedy jam that you want your whole team to be there.
Of course. Yeah. It's just been a weird year with everybody where. Some of the festivals and stuff that we have coming up, it's a different, it's kind of a Frankenstein different, like, we used to say this all the time with, like, roast battle and stuff, is like, it's like a very Wu-Tang kind of thing. Like, sometimes you're not going to see all the members of the band, but like, it's still going to be fun and good and different every time. So that's kind of how we look at the jam. It's like, not everyone's going to be able to make it out of the core group every time, but we're still going to put on a great show.
How did it feel last night? This was the first time.
We did one at the Comedy Store.
Okay. Right.
And that was good, except I learned a little bit of a lesson as we're talking about juggling stuff. I couldn't finish that show because I got so dehydrated.
Oh, no.
So I literally I went into shock backstage and I was shaking and I had to, like, down tons of water and, like, I was like, it was real weird. I've never had that happen before. Like, I wasn't, probably lack of sleep and probably just me going a little bit too hard and me not drinking enough water before the show. And during the show, they didn't restock the water, so it was one of those things.
Yeah. The aging thing is interesting. Like, I happened to snap a picture of Josh riding, a wave in the crowd last night during the jam, and I thought, how much longer is he gonna?
Of crowd surfing and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Who knows? He's a rock star at heart. He could be Keith Richards. You know what I mean?
And he joked that he's only going to be able to do this for 2 more years. I'm like, no, because it's in your blood.
I don't think he's. It's in his DNA to be a rock star.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that voice.
Oh yeah.
And he's already had surgery, I think, to help his vocal cords.
Of course.
What do you want to do next, leading up to that sketch show that you're going to do?
I want to see. We're testing right now. We're testing the format right now for Scissor Bros to see if live is a sustainable thing that we can do on the road. Because, if the show keeps growing as we hope it will, I would love to do like a one Scissor Bros on the road, and then the rest is stand-up shows for the weekend, and get Steve comfortable enough where he's doing at least a 5-minute, 7-minute set during these shows, even if he's just telling stories to kind of grow his confidence and get in that routine. That's what our buddy Brendan Schaub, how he kind of got into stand-up with on the road. They were doing live, like Fighter and the Kids and stuff like that. And then literally he started doing stand-up, like guest spots on Callan shows, and now he's headlining everywhere. So yeah.
I think I've run out of any questions, so I just want to talk.
Sure, of course.
For anybody that's listening, what are some pointers that you'd give?
I would say that, after a while, you kind of start giving the same advice that was just given to you that sometimes feels very generic and very general, but it kind of makes sense once you're in it. Is just make sure that you are, along the way, really savoring the moments that are difficult, and when you are just trying to put money together with a friend for like a meal at a late night diner, just memories along the way that it's not always going to be that hard, but you look back and those are some of the best and favorite memories like along the way. Which is real interesting about, like, you've been doing these check-ins with me, so you get to see like along the way, like, how hopefully each year it's like kind of progressing and stuff like that. So I would say that is just it may be hard while you're in the thick of it, but just be positive about it, and that chapter will be over soon enough, and you'll be on to the next one. But you'll cherish that time when you were really down and in the thick of it.
Yeah. This has become a nice anthology that we've seen your career over the last 4 times that we've talked together, and with this one, because scheduling it was more last minute than any of the others, I'm like, oh, are we getting to that point where like he's so big that he's not going to have time to do these check-ins?
It's my goal to be able to do the check-ins, even if they become shorter every year. You know what I mean? It's my goal to stay consistent with that, Valerie. So.
As I chase you down the street to your headlining at the Paramount here in Austin. Jeremiah, how's it going?
No, I love our check-ins.
One of the things that I would also impress upon people about you is, there's no guidebook to how to be a comic, but one of the things that has always been true about you is you can be nice. And
yeah, absolutely. I mean, definitely along the advice, if you're asking for advice or pointers, just please be nice to everybody along the way. All these people, and you might not. Here's the thing. Some of the people that you're coming up with as a comic, or you can go with this along with coworkers at the company, you may not like them, or you may not like their comedy, but you would be surprised like how long these people are going to be your coworkers. So it's super important, like from day one, to be nice to everybody and just be a good person, because it will come back to bite you. That's a real karma thing that I see happen with other comics, and it's unfortunate. But yeah, it sounds simple, but like, you gotta be nice to people behind you that are coming up, and the people who are technically above you in your class or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. Well, I love these chats. One of the things that I have done with my podcast is I ask a word to describe your past, a word to describe your future, and I will revisit yours.
Yeah.
So in our first episode, your past word was happy.
Okay.
And your future was eclectic.
All right. Been doing that.
And then last year I forgot to ask you your past word. I'm not going to ask you for your password. But your future word was tumultuous.
Interesting.
Yeah,
that is an interesting
one.
That was
2019.
And I mean, I predicted the pandemic.
Yeah. You did.
I did. Yeah.
Do you want to put a prediction on, or not a prediction? Do you want to
put out
memorialize there a future word for yourself?
Future word for myself. I will just say balanced.
That's such a shift. Eclectic, tumultuous, balanced. Mm-hmm. Oh, the parenting is
Sure.
zenning you out.
Sure.
Well, I know you have a very, very busy schedule. Is there something that we haven't talked about that you want to share with our tens of listeners?
No. I'm just excited for... I'm always excited for what's to come, and I appreciate how supportive you've been of me over the years. I think I end up randomly thinking of you a lot because I print.
That printer. You have to tell me if it ever breaks down. I'm buying you another one.
Valerie was very kind, and years ago bought me a LaserJet printer, and I'll tell you what, that printer is so good. Like we'll just. It lasts so long in between the times we have to switch out the cartridges, and I use it I use it to print out voiceover sides for acting stuff, for sketch stuff, for writing songs. So I randomly am thinking of you a lot when I'm printing stuff. So it was probably the best gift you could have got me.
I'm so happy to play that part.
Yeah.
All right, well, that is a wrap on Comedy Wham Presents Jeremiah Watkins, Volume 4. Thank you. Tell us where we can find you on social media and promote.
I'm at Jeremiah Stand Up on all social media, JeremiahWatkins.com if you want to come see me live on tour. And then I got 2 great podcasts called Scissor Bros and Jeremiah Wonders. Check them out.
Yeah. And we hope that you've enjoyed learning about how Jeremiah got to be the comedic genius that you heard today. But make sure that you listen to his Volume 1, 2, and 3 so that you can get a perspective of how careers change and evolve and grow. This has been Comedy Wham Presents Jeremiah Watkins. I'm Valerie, and that's been funny. Thank you, Jeremiah.
Thank you.